Welcome back to the Talking Wolves podcast. My name is Matthew Cooper, and today we're joined by two familiar faces. We've got Finners. Finners, how you doing, mate?
I'm all right. Hello, Matthew. I haven't heard that before. Matthew.
Yeah,
I'm all right, yeah. How are you?
I'm great. Yeah, I'm good, mate. Matthew's only in trouble. It's been a while, hasn't it? We haven't been on the podcast for quite a while, but I thought we'd bring it back. And how better way to bring it back than in the esteemed company of Tom Rouse. Tom, how are you?
I'm all right, thank you. Nice to be back on Talking Wolves regularly,
Of course,
albeit virtually, not in my kitchen, unfortunately.
Yeah, but you started to do a lot more content on your own channel again, haven't you, recently?
Yes, I wouldn't say that it's increased quality, but it's increased volume, certainly. But yeah, I just felt, and I know we've spoken about this before we started the podcast, but just needing to have a good few months away from doing any sort of content at all. I try to do different things, but to very, very little interest of others. But that didn't bother me particularly. I was trying to do my podcast with my friend Billy, which I'm still doing, the Show Us Your Kit podcast, which I quite enjoy doing, but again, doesn't get lots of listens, but it's enjoyable. Changed the name of the channel for a bit and stuff, and just messed about, and but then realised, but people aren't interested in that sort of stuff, and that's fine. And now I'm doing the Wolves again, and that's fine.
Gone full circle. Well, anyway, it's good to see you back. Anyway, Tom on the channel regularly. I've certainly missed you. I don't know if Dave has, but I have. Just a bit of a running order today. We're going to go for the last two games, next three games, looking at Newcastle, City and Villa, and looking where Wolves can finish this season. Could there be a late push for Europe? Are we going to be mid-table mediocrity? Having a little look at Nelson Semedo's improvement over the last few weeks, and then also your questions. So let's start with the Southampton game in the league. I know it's extremely cliche, but it really was a game of two halves, wasn't it, Finn?
Yeah, Jekyll and I, game of two halves, all of those. It was just how a team can be so different. It was literally the same as Southampton the year before. I don't know what goes on at half-time in that changing room. Whether they figure, let's swap the wingers, or let's actually try and win a tackle. I saw something about our tackle percentage or something. I know, I'm one for the stats, and it was like 11% in the first half and 40-something in the second. It's like whatever goes on in there, whatever they put in the Lucozade. I'd love to know, but no, yeah, brilliant second half. But that first half, I was like, if there was been content going out at half time, the meltdown, like it would have been worse than like West Brom. We were so bad, so bad. Don't know what you think it's
absolutely terrible, wasn't it? But it's like I noticed like everyone was having a really bad game. Like the defense was like you could have driven the bus through our back three. And then, like, the midfield too, literally just kept giving the ball away. But what did you think of it, Tom? Would you agree with Finn, like, just absolute shambles and then a lot better, or were you still, yeah?
I think that the first half was so disorganised. There were a couple of times where I spotted Cody and Dendoncker in particular trying to make interceptions 20 yards into the opposition's half. And then immediately we were broken on, and there was Sace and the two wing-backs just looking at each other, panicking because they were just so out of their depth. We were very, very fortunate to only be one down at half-time in that game. And like Finn just said, they've managed to turn it around somehow at half-time. I don't think it was just as simple as swapping the wingers. I think there was a few teacups thrown, a bit of hair dry treatment from Nuno. But I don't know what it was, because there was quite a lot of pressure on that game beforehand. Having, Nuno had put this terrible front three out against them in the cup, which
wasn't really.
Thank God we're not talking about that today. But there was pressure, and pressure on Nuno and his selection. Pressure on the players who were picked as the first choice front three, and they didn't perform at all. I think that we might come on to Willian Jose at some point, but I don't think there was any blame at him. It was just there was no cohesion between the different areas of the pitch and the different thirds. It was just, completely no clue at all, no plan, how things join together. And that's just not how Nuno plays football, not how Wolves have played football in the 4 years that we've had under Nuno. It's always very, very structured, very disciplined. And it just looked atrocious. And and the midfield too as well, couldn't connect anything up as well. And it was awful. But then, as Finn has just said, the second half was superb.
That's one of the criticisms I've had of Nuno this season. Like, I know he's not been his biggest fan this season, but one thing we can always say about Nuno at Wolves and his tenure is we've all, whether it's an enjoyable brand of football or not, we've always had that philosophy of being tight at the back, like defending really well, really, really structured and regimented. But this season, we just haven't been. So it's we had almost lost a little bit of identity. But apparently Nuno isn't one for the hairdryer treatment, but he must have said something at half time to G them up, because it looked like a completely different team, didn't it, Finn?
Yeah, I feel like he'd be more of a, like, it'd be really effective if he was just like, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed. Like those eyes, I'd be like, I'm so sorry, I'm going to do something in the second half. But no, yeah, he's although he doesn't, as you say, he isn't one for the hairdryer. He just seems like a scary bloke all round. And going back to what you were saying about tactical switches, I was thinking, and I should have said before, in that first half, do you remember that time? It must have been about a year ago when Nuno gave Joe Edwards that hairdryer for suggesting Jota was a winger. And I was thinking in that first half, yeah, I was thinking, and it's been picked up in games recently, how both of them were like Neto and Traore both got chalk on their boots, as of the wing backs. Joe Edwards in that first half should have been going down, giving Nuno like these are wingers. And then second half they weren't, and it's been for a long time they were wingers, weren't they? Like there wasn't none of this inside forward stuff.
I remember that like this is football. This is not numbers. Like,
Johnny is our winger. Johnny and Doherty are our wingers.
Like Joe Edwards, bless me, then he just got the job and he was just sat there like he's just so mad.
I remember bang on now. Like,
you know what? Just to come off topic a little bit, I do genuinely feel sorry for Joe Edwards, because he's actually he's a good reporter, but like, if we lose for some reason, it's not Nuno's fault. It's Joe Edwards' fault. I know, Tom, you probably got a different opinion from me, and it is journalist union, mate. But
it came up on my YouTube the other day. One of those Beanie Man talk, the ones that put out the press conferences, and it was Southampton when we lost just after the FA Cup, and all he said was like, "That's winless here on 5 on the road or whatever," and he went, "Well, we played home games," and walked out. It's like, why does he just go at him every time? It's weird. But
he really doesn't like media duties, does he? Like he just absolutely hates them. But I think Nuno is the master of, well, he's a politician. Answer says a lot about a little. And I know that journalists do put the questions too, not the difficult questions, but he just negotiates around them. And I think there is an element of being scared of like rubbing him up the wrong way, because the club could just be like, see you later, then like you're not got access. But it must be a difficult one. But yeah, just going back to the Southampton game, second half, switch to wingers, but we're also playing with like a real intensity, and we're like pressing from the front. And I've not seen us play like that under Nuno. Probably you can count on one hand, Tom.
Well, I tweeted in the first half about Wolves being low on confidence, and they looked a team low on confidence as well. And I said, you know, as a real amateur footballer, five-a-side, if I'm having a terrible game, I will just run around, because then you look as if you're like contributing something, and you like press players, or you might make somebody.
We've seen you at Molyneux. There was no running around. You weren't playing great.
I was playing well that game. That's why I made chances. I had chances. But yeah, so that's all. That's all I wanted, was to see a bit of effort, a bit of passion from the players. I think Podence is the best player at doing that. He just looks like he really cares about every second of the game. And without him in the team, Neto shows it a bit. Cody shows it by shouting, but there's not a lot of passion and effort in that team otherwise. And that's what the difference was in the second half. Is they just ran, they moved the ball quickly, and they forced Southampton into a few mistakes, not many, but enough to win a game. And it was just from more pace and more, I don't know, crisper passing.
Our stats seems to have come into the Premier League, and I saw it a couple of days ago, like for how many times I know it's like probably one of them stats like XG where you think it's nonsense, but like how many times we've engaged the press over like 90 minutes, and we're like, I think we're like bottom of the league by a Bulls ride, and I think even West Brom press better than us. We were like 12 centre backs, but I'm not a hard man to please. All I want is like, obviously us to win games. I want to be exciting to watch, and that second half is everything I've ever wanted from us. Like high intensity, press from the front, force the opposition into making mistakes higher up the pitch, so you got a better chance of scoring. And you know what, Southampton they're not a fantastic team. They've just got a lot of energy and they work hard. And I think we we pressed the pressers in the second half, and we come out on top. But I think the decision to swap the wingers over, or sorry, inside forwards if you're listening, Nuno, because they're not wingers. I think that obviously they drove infield, which helped then Jose link the play because we were a lot closer. Whereas if you play True on the right and Neto on the left, it's like, right, just bomb down the line, try and get to the byline and aimlessly lump a ball into the box.
The thing I was going to say on the back of what you were just saying there, that Southampton had lost 5 games in a row in the league, and we never play the situation. We always just play, our way. The best example of that was when I slagged them off when we beat Besiktas away last year, and I said we should have been going for them. We should have been killing them in the first 20 minutes and trying to get a goal early on, and then really batter them because they were rubbish. And the chairman had walked out. There had been all sorts of injuries. We never play. Southampton have lost 5 games in a row. Let's get in their face. Let's panic them. Let's try and get a goal early on. Their heads will drop, and then we'll go and score 2 or 3. We never do that, ever. And that's another thing that Nuno doesn't ever get right. He's a little bit arrogant, perhaps, in that respect. But then it works, a lot of the time, 60% of the time, or whatever his win percentage is.
He's really cautious, though, isn't it? Like I always see, like with playing teams who are out of form, it's like, don't worry, because we'll give you a head start anyway. I think that is something that needs to be addressed. But yeah, I thought the second half was a lot better. But Finn, did you feel like it papered over the cracks a little bit, or do you feel like it was a bit of a turning point? For me, I felt like because of the manner that we clawed it back. It's not like where the Arsenal game where it was a bit of a freak game. I did feel like it was a little bit of a turning point.
Yeah, if you split almost, the last 4 is where we've really picked up our form, isn't it? And the whole of the Arsenal game, I felt that is the luckiest performance I've ever seen. First half, Southampton, if you're splitting it up, it's like 3 out of the 12 halves. I've thought, God, we've been so lucky there, like not to be absolutely battered. So it is promising now. There's more of a trend to look at to see better performances in the Leicester game, in the Leeds game. But just the Southampton game alone, if you were taking it, or you'd never seen a Wolves game before, you'd say maybe they were lucky because we should have been further down. You could say the penalties, like one could have gone for us, one couldn't. And yeah, I wasn't too convinced, but I think with that general trend, it's easy to now go, oh yeah, we're going to be brilliant. We're going to get into Europe. Nothing's wrong. But no, yeah, if you're taking that just on its own, there were real problems. But that second half, I think you can always tell. I don't know. You remember when I think it was in the Championship season when people were saying, I don't know, maybe change the formation if we're 1 down. I remember Forrest, I think in the December, like go for it. And he said, I don't change the formation to be more attacking or whatever. I just change the players within it or whatever. And you can tell wherever our wing backs are, that shows our intent. And Semedo, it was a 3-4-3, wasn't it then in that second half? Whereas it was more of a 5-2-3, if you know what I mean. And it's gone wrong in that 3-4-3. I remember West Ham this season, where that gap between Semedo and the right centre-back and Vinagre is just awful. But when it works well and we can, be on the front foot like that, and you've got attacking wing-backs that can do what they want to do, it's looking promising going forward. That's definitely that tweak.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like we all said, like, when Jimenez comes back, it'll be a lot better. But I think Johnny coming back has been as equally as important because he's added so much balance to the side, hasn't he, Tom?
Yeah, he was somebody I made a note of a couple of weeks ago and saying the sooner he can come back, the better. Because however good the potential of Nori and who's the other one? Marcel. Marcel has got legs made of poppadoms.
It's a weird signing. I can see why they've signed it for the fee, but everywhere he's been crocked.
I know it's a shame, but he looks a really good player as well, Marcel. But to have Johnny, who's going to, and I was listening to the Athletic earlier on. And they were saying, as soon as he can get up to 90 minutes, the better. That left-hand channel has looked so much more secure. Like Kilman did a really good job, but I think he was exposed a lot, and there was a lot of extra pressure on Cody then in the middle to cover for 2 players rather than just the one. Going forward as well, he's had a lot of contributions as well. Just the little quick 1-2s that we used to see with Jota, whether that's been with Traore or Neto, it hasn't mattered because Johnny's good enough to be able to do it with either play, and the fact he's right-footed as well, but he's fairly strong on his left as well is really, really positive. And I think if he'd have been fit all season, I think we'd have been 6 points better off easily. That's just a number I'm picking off the top of my head. I haven't got like examples of goals that we've conceded down the left-hand side.
You sure you're working out, please, Tom?
But I do agree. I think we've missed him more than Jimenez. I think we've had to adapt our style of play completely because of losing Jimenez. But, we've been able to still pick up some results on the way. With Johnny, though, it's just been a gaping hole.
There's been no stability, has there, in that left-back position? Like, we've had, like you said, Nuri, Marcel, Hoover's played there, Saiss has played there, Kilman's played there. It's like, now we've got Johnny back. It's we do look a lot more sturdy going forward and defensively. But I remember we were fairly poor when we had Jimenez this season, weren't we? Like, it wasn't like we lost Jimenez and all of a sudden we were shit overnight. Like, it was, we weren't great.
So that Arsenal game, we went up to 20 points and we went into 6th place. So I would disagree with that, just because we've only picked up 12 points or 13 points in the time after that. So, and we've played now as many games or more games now without Jimenez than we did with him this season. So the impact of his goals, I think, what was it, 4 in 9 at the start of this season?
And he was still our top scorer, wasn't he, until very recently?
Until last week.
Yeah. But with that Southampton game, like, I love the way that we pressed in the second half. We looked a lot better. But I thought if we go and try and match Leeds in the same way we had with Southampton, I thought we'd get absolutely pumped. And I wouldn't have been mad at Nuno if he took a bit more of a kind of conservative approach to it. But were you surprised moving on to the Leeds game? Finn, were you surprised?
Hang on. Sorry, Matt. Sorry to interrupt, Matt. You can't move on from the Southampton game without talking about Pedro Neto's goal. Come on now.
Well, I was going to ask the question, but it's already been covered by the Wolves official account. Whose goal was better? Was it Ebanks Blake's or Neto's? Because they were both quite similar.
Go on, Finn.
Well, I can't believe I didn't see it at the time. Like, it's honestly one of my favourite goals ever. I remember exactly where I was. I wasn't there. I was at Green Man pub with my dad, and he became like a legend then to me. Then Silvan Ebanks Blake. But watching it side by side, I can't believe I never saw the similarities. But it's still Ebanks Blake all the way for me. The fact it was then technically his weak foot as well. Neto got it on his nice foot. But I just didn't see it until they put them side by side.
What do you reckon, Rose?
I saw it immediately. I tweeted it out, so I'm taking all the credit. I reckon the Wolves account saw me. But Nuno watches me, so he might have passed it on to them. But
he doesn't watch me.
I was more surprised when Ebanks Blake did what he did. I was expecting that. I expect that sort of level of skill from Neto. So for me, the bigger shock, the bigger reaction was from Ebanks Blake's goal. But also Ebanks Blake's goal just didn't win us that game. It was the Carl Henry goal later on in that game that won us the game. So in terms of...
That's more of a miracle, that is.
Yeah, that was his last goal for about 3 or 4 years, that was.
Yeah, so for me, it's the Ebanks Blake goal. Like, I just remember, I used to love Ebanks Blake, just the way he used to play, he used to bully defenders. And for me, the fact that he's kind of took it to the byline and nutmegged him from behind and then took it onto his weak foot, it's the better goal for me. Didn't he nutmeg Greg Halford, didn't he, as well? Was it Greg Halford?
I don't know if it was, but Halford was certainly playing for Charlton that day.
Yeah.
He might have been Halford. Yeah.
I think he was, which makes it even sweeter because he's a total twat. Yeah. I mean, it was. Sorry for skimming over it, but Neto's goal was superb. Question marks about the keeper, but
the pace of that shot, he's got to be a hell of a keeper to be stopping that. He's not expecting him to whip it into that far post as quickly. It's not like he's gone in his near post and he should be covering it. I think you got to give a lot of credit to Neto.
I know Vestergaard's obviously built like a fridge freezer, but the way he managed to turn him was like, I think he's still on the turn now, Vestergaard. It's just trying to get around under cover. I couldn't believe how easily it went past him. And then to have the confidence and the audacity to then just whip it into the far corner, I thought it was fantastic. And that's, it's probably, would you say it's our goal of the season, or would you say Moutinho's was, or?
I think it's the goal of the season so far.
What individual brilliance? What do you reckon, Finn?
Well, do you know what would have been goal of the season, leading perfectly into the Leeds game? If that goes in off the cross, but if that goes in straight away, that's goal of the season for me. But no, the Neto one's up there. I can't think of many really satisfying ones. Like the first goal we scored in the season, that Podence to Jimenez one. It's just really satisfying. But as a wow factor, here's Zhao's, and Adama's or Meslier's goal. It's up there for me.
It's a great link, Finn. So as we're moving on to the Leeds game, I would have been happy if we'd have sat and contained Leeds for 60 minutes and had a go, which is a bit hypocritical because that's what I've moaned at. But
Stockholm syndrome.
I was so shocked to see it. I was so shocked to see us approach that game in the way we did. How were you? Were you shocked, Tom? Do you think we were going to contain, or do you just think we were going to go for it?
Well, if you remember the first game at Ellen Road, we really sat off and we gave Leeds so much respect just because of this Bielsa, I don't know what Messiah complex that not the government, what are they called? The media. They all seem well. If you ask me, the media is a branch of the government, but never mind. That's a different
podcast, mate.
It's a different podcast. Yeah. So we gave them far too much respect at Ellen Road. We didn't give them that at all. But what I have said in hindsight after the Leeds game, lots of Leeds fans were saying, "Oh, you didn't get behind our back four. We managed to keep it at arm's length," which is fine, and it's true. We didn't get behind them at all, but we still made chances by following Neto's mother's advice and just shooting. And that's where the goal came from. You don't take risk. You don't have a shot. Goals don't happen. We don't walk the ball in from 30 yards out. You have to have a pop at goal and hope for a deflection like in the first game or off the crossbar in this game. Our luck has turned, and those things have started to go for us now.
Their keeper though, he's I know he's only a young lad, but he's been extremely inconsistent this season. He can have some really good games, and then his other games he's chucking goals in. So if I was the coaching staff, I'd be saying shoot on sight, test him. Keep testing, keep putting him under pressure, and I think that's what he did. And it was good to see us actually just have a shot, rather than driving down to the byline and trying to lump across into the box. But I thought in the first half as well, Moutinho and Neves did a great job of screening that back five and recovering the ball really well. And I thought we pressed Leeds. I thought we more than matched them at the own game. But what did you think, Finn? What do you think of the first half to start with?
Yeah, it was a real shock. I mean, there's about 4 or 5 shots on target, weren't there? And I don't think many of them were from inside the box. And I think, as you say, Neto's mum's got inside his head, because there was a few where I was like, mate, I want to see shots, but why are you shooting from there? But I suppose we'll take it over trying to walk it in. It was, as you say, the first game, I just expected to be a carbon copy of that. Obviously, it's come out with the same result both times. And thinking about it, as you said, 2 really jammy, fortunate goals. I forgot about the first one going in off a man bun, but as you say, if you shoot, sometimes it goes in. I think of the one we conceded at Crystal Palace shouldn't really be going in. There's so many where if you just shoot, that was one we conceded. That is not ours, unfortunately. But no, a big improvement. But as you say, we didn't really get in behind. I think Calvin Phillips would have made a big difference. That was a big miss. I think he's a brilliant player. One for maybe our midfield, but I think the Premier League tax on that would be a bit too much. So Renato Sanchez for me if we get into that. But no, it was good. The goal was in the second half, though, wasn't it? Thinking about it, was in the second half.
It was, yeah. I think the Renato Sanchez, that shout is break glass in emergency. When someone asks who should Wolves sign this summer, it's
Portuguese, yeah.
But Portuguese midfielder, please. But I agree. It was nice to see us have a go. It seems I thought second half we faded a little bit, but I think we just looked knackered. We'd gone toe to toe with Leeds, and I'd said on the fans react that we pressed them off the pitch first half, and there was loads of Leeds fans saying what's he on about? You were rubbish. You were lucky. We should have won now. And I was like, I know it's your team, but I didn't think. I think a draw would have potentially been a fair result, but but I wasn't God, we've got away with one there.
Again, Matt, I'm really sorry to keep disagreeing with you, but I thought we did get away with one just because the chances that they had, it wasn't just 1 or 2. Every free kick that they had a free header at the back post, which on another day they go in. Helder Costa will never sleep again for missing that chance in stoppage time. So I do think that they had more clear-cut chances than we did. And, everybody's been talking about how great Patricio was. You don't come away from a game winning 1-0 with your goalkeeper being man of the match without being under quite some pressure. And on another day, if the ball rolls another way, we lose that game quite easily, I think.
Yeah, I get that. When Costa brought that down for the chance down, I was like, he ain't going to score because he's shit. I just knew he wouldn't. But I thought perhaps my 0 rating that I gave him at the Shrewsbury FA Cup game might come back to haunt me, and he'd just go to the corner flag and he'd just have that tweet under his top. Let's talk about the Adama goal. I'm going to credit Adama with it because he's my best mate, and I don't want to see a keeper go down as an OG. But I think if you look at his start position where he picked that ball up, if that doesn't rocket off the bar and then Meslier's back and go straight in, you're looking at goal of the season. Surely, I know we've already had the. That's what we need to see more from Adama because we know he's got a bit of a rocket on him. So yeah, Finn, what did you make of it? Did you prefer seeing Adama on the left and driving in like that? And
yeah, as I said before, like if it hadn't have gone in off the goalkeeper, where if like Messi had done that, or even I don't know Bruno Fernandes, everyone loves a little. Are we swearing on? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, mate, go ahead.
Yeah, when he picked it up from halfway line, 3 or 4 players, but at the time I didn't really appreciate it because it just felt like I didn't like until you watch it back, you didn't see how good it was, and yeah, I think Adama on the right without Jimenez just hasn't worked. Somehow Jimenez had this crazy thing in his head where he knew where Adama was going to put it, even when Adama didn't. Like, you think of the amount of games last year, like Bournemouth, West Ham, where he'd just be there for a header, and I don't think Jose's quite on that wavelength, and I don't blame him because, as you say, I don't think Adama knows where he's going to put it either. But from the right, we've seen like in the Crystal Palace game as well on his left, he's shooting. Like if you can just get power on it, like I remember last season as well, the City one. Tottenham as well. He's got a rocket. It doesn't necessarily have to be too accurate, and if we can do that more on the
left. Tom, would you still sell Adama for less than 10 million?
Oh yeah. Still, yeah.
Come on, mate.
No, I'm only joking. I'm only teasing. That was, but my point was when I was saying that was that in the January transfer window, if Wolves were linked with signing a winger who hadn't scored or hadn't assisted for 40-odd games, and it was any more than 10, 15 million, fans would be angry with that. It was what my point was. I don't think Adama will get... Neto hasn't. He's contributed.
No, I meant Lazio, but yeah, sorry, go on.
Sounds like a bit of a backtrack to me, if you ask me.
Yeah, but Neto, when he did come, everybody was saying 10 million for him. But now, they did, didn't they, when he came in? But I could see Traore going in the summer just to raise funds to be spent elsewhere because he's still such a unique player, but he's not contributing to the levels that he was previously. And I don't know what that is, whether it's just because Jimenez is injured or maybe we will see an upturn in his form now that he's playing on the left. I don't know, but he there's something about him that is very, very special and that we unlocked for 6 months of last season, but he's just not consistent. But we knew that anyway. We knew he wasn't going to be able to keep that up because it was just an unbelievable spell of form that he was in the start of last season.
It's one of those players though, where you look at his output and you think, God, he must be shit. But then you watch him in a game, it's like he takes the game by the scruff of the neck, and he does take 3 or 4 players with him. But people say that, but the attacking output is what wins us games. So I do get your point.
He's also very frustrating in general play. Like I can't remember which game it was. We were chasing the game a few weeks ago, and Neto and Podence were busting a gut to close defenders down and try and win us the ball back. And Traore is standing still, watching them go by. It's not the team ethic and the team ethos that you would expect. All 11 players have to play in the same way, and to just watch him sort of stand there on the touchline watching those players go by I can't imagine that Nuno would be very happy with that. And it's not even a kind of thing that you can say, oh, well, it's Adama. If you're desperately trying to win a game or save a game, everybody's going to be pulling together. He doesn't do that for me. But like you said, and it's not even as if just the drawing players away. He does create chances by bursting up the field 30 yards. He gets us out of danger as well. Sometimes when we're under pressure, he can just release him. It's like a Rory Delap long throw, but with legs.
Kind of. What a great analogy. Anyway, moving on to the next 3 games, chaps. Newcastle, City, and then Villa. Finn, how many points can you see us picking up out of those 3 games?
It's got to be 6
How many points would you say is acceptable?
Yeah, it's, the City one. I don't know. If it feels, I always feel like with City, just like when Watford beat us in the FA Cup, if anyone can beat City, I think it's Wolves because of how we play. I think we've 3-1 was it didn't sum up the game at all earlier on in the season. But you've realistically 6 has got to be like if you got 6, you'd be happy with that. Surely 7 would be ridiculous.
How about if you got 6 You beat Newcastle and City and got pumped by the Villa.
Oh no, you can't be having it. Oh, could you though? What order they're in? Is Villa? Is it Villa next? No, Newcastle next.
Newcastle, City, then Villa.
So it would literally be like a happy, sad. Yeah, I don't know. Would you rather have it as happy, sad, happy? I don't know. But no, yeah, 6, and I'd be really, really happy. City just look unbelievable at the moment. Like, I'm looking at the FPL and City have got a double game week with us in, and I'm looking at captaining one of their players. So that says it all, really. But no, yeah, 6 would be, take that all day.
What about you, Tom? How many points can you see us picking up in the next 3?
Well, the only thing I'd say about Man City is that they've won 18 games now in a row in all competitions.
Unbelievable.
There's not many runs in world football that are longer than that, is all I'm saying. It has to end at some point. So
and
I think TNS in Wales actually have the record for the longest ever win streak, something like 25 games or something.
Yeah, but their league is all populated by universities.
I've seen them. I've seen them beat Aberystwyth with 10-1 in a game.
And Football Manager, they have fantastic wonder kids, by the way.
TNS
playing in it. Yeah, really? It's ridiculous. It's like a gold mine. Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, we'll talk about TNS another day.
Probably won't. Not going to lie.
I think the lowest that we can accept from those 3 games will be 4. I think we have to beat one of Newcastle or Villa and at least draw the other game. We always draw against Newcastle, so I'm writing that off as a 1-1 as it is. But then City's is a free hit. It doesn't matter. We're expected to get nothing from it. So if we do get a point, that's a free point. Or I can't see us being able to stop them scoring. Though they are just, they're on one of those rolls like they were two years ago when they won the title, and they just did not stop winning for a ridiculous number of games, and they're doing it again. They've won the league already.
Who'd have thought as well? Like John Stones coming into the team and like striking up a partnership with Diash. They're unbelievable. Them pair, they're so good defensively, and I think the role that he's found for Cancelo as Pep, he's not a right back, he's not a midfielder. He's like almost like a floater. He's kind of like revolutionised how they play again, and like they are terrific to watch. And like you said, it's not. Was it 18 games they've won in a row? That's not like an unbeaten. They've won every single one. Yeah. And for me, it is a free hit. Like I wouldn't want us to obviously lose 4 or 5, and I wouldn't be bothered if we like just contain. But what I don't want us to do is try and match them, which I'm sure we won't under Nuno, and our confidence takes a massive hit. Because imagine if we try and play against Man City like we did against Leeds or Southampton in the second half. Could you imagine?
I think it'd be a very, very controlled performance. I think it'd be a carbon copy of, was it last season? It feels like it was about 5 years ago when we beat them there. But, that kind of game where we just hold them for 70 minutes, 80 minutes, and then at 0-0 think, well, we've got nothing. We've got this far. Let's try and get a win. Throw Adama up front and see what can happen. But as you said, their defence now is a lot more secure than Fernandinho and who else was playing centre-back that day?
Otamendi. Laporte out for quite a while as well, hasn't he? So,
Could it be, thinking about it, sorry, Tom, I think my Wi-Fi can't keep interrupting you. Could it be like the record for most midfielders on a pitch at a time? If we're playing 3 midfielders at the back and they've got no striker, and Cancelo's basically a midfielder.
I'm not really sure what the one for is. We'll have to
me neither. Well, there we go. We broke it, wherever it is. Probably
he's been fantastic, though, Cancelo. But, yeah, it's going to be a difficult game. But the Villa game, for me, is going to be like the decider of whether we've really turned the corner if we take the game to them. Because they've had a good season, considering where they were last season. But I still think they're there to be got at. And if you look at the game at Molineux, like we were probably the better side, but some calamitous defending from Semedo cost us. But do you think we've got a good chance of beating a Villa? I mean, it'd be a good morale boost, wouldn't it, Tom?
I think that, I'm just looking at their form now. So they've won 2 in their last 5. We've won 3. We're only 3 points behind them as well. So it does, and I made a couple of videos recently talking about next summer and sort of writing this season off already. And people were saying, well, we've still got something to play for. And I said, well, what? Well, we need to finish higher than the Villa. Well, that means nothing to me at all. I don't care if we finished below the Villa or not. But I suppose if we have ambitions of finishing 7th, that's the kind of thing that we need to really push for. I haven't watched much of Villa recently, to be honest. But their Grealish is probably going to still be out by then. So that's a positive for us as well. And I think we are owed a good performance in a local derby after the two performances we've had so far this season. So hopefully this game and then the one on the 1st of May against them lots will right the wrongs from earlier on.
Yeah, well, I'd have taken finishing 17th. We beat Albion home and away, but obviously that game at Molineux we want to put behind us as quickly as we can. But like, I think we've actually got a good chance of beating the Villa. I don't know if Grealish, like you just said, he might be out still then, but if so, that's
to check their fantasy football teams.
It's a big plus point, but they have improved massively. But yeah, I think it shows like the levels. Like we've had I know only 2 points behind our tally last season, but we've had a pretty shit season. Let's not lie. Like the football we've been served up has been rubbish. Whereas they're like the European villains, like Don Smith taking us to Europe, and it's like they're only 3 points in front of us. I know they've got loads of games in hand, but I think that does show. Excuse me, the contrast. But moving on to the next point, you just mentioned it there. What our ambitions are for the rest of the season. Where can you see us finishing now? Like we've got, was it 10 points out of the last 12? We've got 2 out of 3 games coming up that are winnable. Finn, what's the ceiling for Wolves this season? Where can you see us finishing?
Yeah, well, the stat that was going around was that we're only 2 points now off what we had last season, weren't we? And then I think we drew the next game last season. So if we beat Newcastle, we're then level. What people haven't really seen is that we then went on a mental run to then finish 7th. I can't really see that coming. And even though there's that period of, if you look at it on FPL, like Tom was just saying, it's like green. It's like Brighton, Sheffield United, West Brom. You don't want to play them then. I can't see us getting Europe, to be honest. But it's just typical, like, fickle fans, isn't it? If we win one, we're going to be looking up. If we lose the next 2, it's going to be, oh, my God, what a Fulham on again. It's like, I think mid-table is what we've got to settle for this season. Top half, and I'd be happy, which I think is realistic.
So I remember Tim Spears writing an article in The Athletic, I think probably 2 or 3 weeks after the Jimenez injury. And he said, like, the board's expectations have been adjusted, but they still wouldn't accept anything less than a mid-table top half finish. So, Tom, what are your thoughts on it? Do you think there's an outside chance we could even potentially sneak into Europe or the bloody Conference League, whatever it's called now?
Oh, yeah. I've just been doing a little bit of quick maths on my pad here.
2 plus 2.
There's 39 points left to play for, 13 games. On the live stream I did before the game against Leeds, I said there was 14 games left, obviously. And I said if we win half of them, that'll be pretty good, return. So we won that game. So if we win 6 of the next 13 games, that gives us 18 more points, which will put us on 57, which is pretty similar to the last 2 years. And has got us 7th place. I don't think we need to be looking at placings particularly because of how our season's gone. I think if we just aim for sort of between 57 and 60 points, then that'll be pretty successful. And I think it's a good aim for the rest of the season. Winning 50% of our remaining games would be pretty enjoyable, I think.
Yeah, I think 50% is a bit of a big ask. But the thing that frustrates me the most about this season is you look at the team like West Ham and Everton, and like Everton have strengthened, they've got a world-class manager in, but the league's terrible this season, and it was a really good opportunity for us to go and do something. So obviously losing Jimenez was gutting, but also like the really poor recruitment. I feel like we've really missed an opportunity this season to go and do something. Would you agree with that, Finn, or do you just think it's one of those seasons where you just write it off because there's a pandemic on?
Yeah, I said at the end of last season, even if there was any season to not get Europe, it was going to be this one, because obviously the main thing is going and enjoying them. And this season, if we'd have done something, it'd have been like, oh, typical that we, like, I don't know, won the FA Cup, or it was like, oh, we weren't there to see it. But as you say, like, we were further ahead than Everton. We were about on par with Leicester. Maybe they finished a few places ahead, but in my head, before we've all been on that sort of level, if you go man for man. And it is frustrating to see that. Even Southampton, I know they've had they're currently losing 3-0. Just conceded a third, so it's not been going great for them. But
9-0.
Dallas as well, that I just put in my FPL, so that's beautiful defender goal. But no, yeah, it is sad to see that. But in a few years, I mean, if we have got the patience with these young players, that's what they've gone for, isn't it? In a few years, we should be on that level. It's just going to be annoying in the future if we become let's have 3 years of 8, say we sign 8 Nori and he makes mistakes with us, then we sell him on. We can't do that, like Neto or whatever. We've got to now say, right, you guys are with us, and then we should eventually see that rise. But for this season, yeah, it just hasn't felt real, to be honest. All of it, I've struggled to care as much. And watching, like, on this day, today, I think it was Norwich winning 3-0 is the last time we saw a goal at Molineux. It's just it's completely different. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I do feel like really detached from football, and I don't think it helps that we haven't been playing great. But I don't know, like I feel like now if we lose, I'm taking the Albion game out of the equation, obviously, but if we lose, like normally it ruins what you can. But now I'm just like, all right, sound like, and then I'm over even an hour. Are you the same, Tom, or do you still feel like you still got that burning passion for Wolverhampton Wanderers, and you want to live and breathe it every single minute of the day?
It comes and goes, and well, much like anything else, it depends what's going on in your personal life. I find how much I throw myself into the Wolves when I've been living by myself with nothing else to do. I've made a Wolves video every day, but now other things are going on. I haven't got the time or the inclination to do that, which is fine. And everybody watching this video will feel the same. There'll be moments where you think, oh well, who cares that we won or we lost? It doesn't matter. Or there'll be some weeks where we're distraught. The games that have affected me the most have been the ones that we've thrown away, like the Brighton one, going back a bit further at the end of last season, the Burnley one, the Villa one this season. Just the ones where we thought there was a result there to have that was in our favour and we just blew it away. But again, once I've moaned for 2 minutes, I'm fine then. Usually, if you watch my videos, they'll start off being really annoyed, and then by the end, I'll be like, oh, well, there we go.
It's almost like talkie therapy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think I probably speak for a lot of people, like going to Molineux every weekend or going to away games, or it gives you something to kind of aim towards at the end of the week, like working Monday to Friday. It's almost like a release, and it's not just going to watch a game of football. It's whether you go with your friends or your family, and whether you go for a few points before, make a day of it. It's like it's not about just going to watch football. It is an experience, and it does give you a bit of a lift and an escape. But at the minute, if we lose, I don't know, probably just further compounds people's misery, doesn't it?
Well, me and my dad were talking the other day as well, and about that Norwich game, because we was as teachers we do things by half terms, and we were saying, this half term we were watching Norwich and Espanyol, and we didn't even. I said to my dad, can you remember the last social event that we did? And he said, oh yeah, we went to watch a Pink Floyd tribute band on the 28th of February. I said, no. So we went to watch the Wolves against Brighton on the 7th of March. And we don't even see that as like a social event. It's just something that is part of our week. We just go to the Wolves. And I was writing something the other day, which I may or may not put out, just talking about the feeling of going back to the ground and a full ground. And I genuinely welled up and thought, I can't begin to think about, walking through. I'm getting shivers up my spine now, thinking about walking up the concourse with the lights and the fans and everything. And the only thing I could compare it to would be when I went to Glastonbury on the Wednesday when everybody arrived. There was 100,000 people, 200,000 people in this field. And everybody was so excited and been waiting for this moment for so long that one person would just start clapping. And then the whole field would just start cheering and clapping just because they were so excited to be there. And I think that's the kind of atmosphere that we'll have on that first game. And then Cody will concede an own goal and we'll be miserable and everything will be back to normal.
How about you, Finn? But you can't wait to get back in that hospitality, can you?
In nice and warm.
We don't have heated seats in the living room. It's just the whole experience. Even like a lot of the players, I just get emotional. Like they don't even have a song. Like Semedo doesn't have a song. It's just like little things. It's just
Semedo's got a song.
I bet it's been really hard. Well, he hasn't heard it yet, I suppose. No. I'm going to be on a big one if we sign Aït-Nouri as well. Big one for Brian Storm by Arctic Monkeys. It fit perfect with Brian. But anyway,
follow. We got nothing, Semedo.
Yeah.
But he's not. There was so. I really like that.
Yeah, it's good. It's like how he hasn't heard. I mean, even unless he's got Twitter. It's just sad that none of these players have heard.
To get the guitar.
Get the band back together. Get the
guitar. At him on Twitter.
What's your right?
But no, just the.
What's the
I just thought I was listening to I was listening to I think it'd be a good concourse song that Brian Storm Arctic Monkeys. So as you say, Tom, I was listening to him do it at Glastonbury, and and the whole crowd's going it'd be a brilliant one for the concourse, and then Brian Aït-Nouri would fit quite well. I hadn't got further than that. Needs a few more lines.
Studio, he'll lay down a few acoustic tracks for you. You can do the vocals.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
Charity single, and we try and get 20 million raise it to sign him.
We'll have to try and get some tracks laid down, Tom. Right, moving on to our last point before we go on to the questions is Nelson Semedo. He's one that has really divided opinion, hasn't he? Tom, how do you feel about Semedo? I know the fee we paid for him was extortionate, but are you still in the camp of him not being very good, or do you feel like he's improving, or what are your thoughts?
I think it's very easy this season in particular to write players off very, very quickly. When we watch games on the telly, you don't get the full picture at all. Like if we're in the ground, you have the option to sit and watch Semedo and his runs for 5-10 minutes and judge him on that. You can't do that. I mean, unless Sky bring back player cam, which they're unlikely to do. But I think people have written him off very, very quickly. The fee, much like Fabio Silva, will hang over him until he starts scoring or assisting. It's not as big as first thought, though. Again, I've listened to The Athletic. They've sort of said that if it will only ever rise to 37 if we win the Europa League or Champions League, which at the minute is very unlikely. So I think it's around about 29 million, which is still extortionate, but he hasn't contributed enough for me. I think he's got a couple of assists maybe now, but he needs to up that. And I do think that he's getting better. I think now with Neto on that side, there's certainly better link up between them, and he's got himself into really good positions, but he just hasn't taken those chances. But that, again, like, I don't want to keep quoting The Athletic, but Jackie Oatley was saying that's the kind of thing that you can work on and can improve on. It's not like he just hasn't got a football brain and he can't find himself these positions. He's doing it, and it's just working on those fine little details, as Nuno says, that will push him to that next level. And I think the fact that Doherty hasn't done well this season works in his favour as well. It's not like, we've sold Doherty and now he's gone and scored 10 goals for Tottenham. He's been rubbish, and apparently he's leaving, isn't he, according to Talking Wolves, I've seen this morning. And should Wolves sign him again?
I put a tweet out earlier on Talking Wolves saying, would you take Doherty back? And I was like, oh, no. Oh, no. What has he done? That's not part of the narrative, Dave. Like, I wouldn't want him back. But, I think, like you said, it is easy to judge players. Like, well, it's not. We've not seen him live. Like, I know you don't get the full picture on telly, and I think since we've switched the wingers over, and was it Karen Carney, the female pundit, I know the one who gets loads of abuse. I think she made a really good point in the fact that Traore kind of occupies Semedo's channel and vice versa. So to switch those inside forwards / wingers over. I think it's really worked well for Semedo. But Finn, how about yourself? Have you been impressed with his recent form? Do you think he's really grown into the role, or are you still? I don't know how you felt about him before, but he's definitely one that splits opinion, isn't he? But how do you feel about him, Finn?
Yeah, as someone in the sort of FIFA generation, I'm going to defend him to the hills because he's the sort of player that I like, and I think he's completely the opposite, because you're either in one camp or the other, because he's the opposite to Doherty. Like, I think, to quote The Athletic again, Tom, he's like top in dribbles made by a defender, top 5 in tackles, but people see on the face of it, he's fouled that bloke against Villa, and he's made mistakes in a few games, and that's the things that people leave in the back of their head, despite him being the most talented dribbler of any defender, etc., etc. I think, looking at another stat as well, he's not necessarily the best fit for Wolves because we've already got fantastic dribblers, the 2 statistically best dribblers in Europe. Looking at that thing posted the other day, Neto and Adama. So whether we needed another one of those, he's not got. 3 shots on target in the first half against Leeds, and they were shot like a fullback, weren't they? You didn't think they were going in, and he often has a pop from range. And there's not much been going on. I had him in my FPL for the start of the season, and he's done nothing. He's gone now. No assists, I don't think, Tom. I'd have known, okay. But no. I think. He was used to a left-footed winger, wasn't he, with Messi in front of him, and then having Adama taking up his right-footed space. He's arguably got Messi again now, hasn't he? But no, I think it's going to work a lot better.
Yeah, I really like him. I feel like he's much more suited to a back 5 than a 4. I think in a 4, he's a little bit suspect, and I know that Wolves, Nuno didn't intend to play at the back 4. That's why they signed him as a wing back, and I feel like that hasn't helped his chances at all, having to switch to a back 4. I know he played at Barcelona in a back 4, but I'd like to think that that Barcelona side was probably a little bit better than Wolves. Wolves of this season. But I really like him, and I think he's definitely growing. But like you said, it's easy to compare him to Doherty purely on Doherty's attacking output. Like, I wasn't Doherty's biggest fan, but one thing he would get you is goals and assists from that position. But he's starting to occupy those Doherty-esque positions now. Like in the Leeds game, he made some great runs, but like you said, he's just snatching at it a little bit, isn't he? But do you think the goals will come for him, Tom, or as it maybe probably towards the tail end of the season, start of next season?
Maybe not goals, but I think he will start contributing assists or chances, I think, more frequently from now. Just because he is occupying those positions, and they will come. I think as well, having Johnny back into the team might be have an impact on him as well. Just watching somebody on the opposite side and what is it that he does that I need to be replicating on the right-hand side, I think is really important to watch. And I mean, he's not leaving in the summer. He's going to be a mainstay in the team again next season. And I think with fans in and with Jimenez maybe fit for the whole of next season, I think it's something that we can start looking forward to. And Doherty wasn't the best finisher. When he first was at Wolves, he took him a long time to develop into the player that he was when he left. And even like when he used to cut in onto his left foot, that goal against Manchester City, he wasn't ripping them home though, was he? He was very, very careful and placed it. Yeah, it wasn't. I think it was one against Reading as well in the Championship season. It takes time to develop these skills. They're still humans, they're still players, and that we're trying to challenge them by putting them in different positions and asking them to do different things. And it takes a bit of patience and a bit of time, which is why I think this season's been perfect. And I think that's why we've had the transfer window that we did have with all the young players, because they sort of had written this season off as an anomaly already in preparation for 2 or 3 years' time.
Yeah, cool. Going to ask you, we've got a few questions in from Instagram and Twitter. We're going to start with a question off Ad Sidway, who's a friend of the podcast. I'll ask you first, Finn. Do you see us signing Aït-Nouri on a permanent deal?
Is it? Yeah, 20 million. He hasn't shown that value, I don't think.
No.
But there is I mean, the thing that we scouted him for, and a lot of people were pointing out before he joined, was that his crossing was brilliant for a young player. And I can't think of many times where he's had the chance to show that, where we've been going forward enough. We haven't seen the best of him. There's definitely, I could see him being one of them ones where, not Pedro Goncalves-esque, not that good, but one where like a one that got away. But I don't know. I think there's a player to unlock there. We just haven't played to his strengths. But at the moment, you couldn't really argue that we've seen 20 million's worth. Whether someone else will, I don't know.
How about you, Tom? Do you reckon they'll sign him on a permanent?
Well, comparing him to Vinagre, a player who cost us 3 million, 5 million, something like that, of a very similar age, very similar ability at the time, I don't think that we would have paid 20 million for Vinagre. If I answer the question like that, I didn't sign him on my Football Manager save either. He played most of the games for me, but I still let him go. He didn't contribute enough, and I actually recalled Vinagre from his loan. He's been really good for me.
Fair, look, you make a good point there. So you can either spend 20 million on Aït-Nouri, or you can recall Vinagre back, who I'd probably say Aït-Nouri is a little bit better and probably, I don't know, has more potential. But it's a lot of money to spend on someone you're not going to, who hasn't really done it that season. I mean, I know his game time has been limited, but I remember the Palace game in his debut. I thought, we've got Roberto Carlos here. Like this, the bloke is unbelievable. And then, he had a few bad performances, but it's the same with like Vitinha and Jose. Like what Vitinha like 20, 25, Jose 20, like say 60 million.
60 million, yeah.
That's probably
one Adama Traore.
Not in your house, it isn't. But that's going to be probably most, if not, our transfer budget for next season. So, how do you feel about Vitinha and Jose? Tom, do you think they'll sign either or?
I think it's too early to decide on Jose. He has contributed a lot for me. I've really liked the impact he's had replacing Jimenez. I think it would be cruel to judge him on his goals and his assists at this point. And it's too early to decide whether or not we'll be paying 22 million for him now. Vitinha, again, not seen enough of him. I think the chance now for Nuno is to look at these players like him and Otasowie, to just name two, but there are others as well, and throw them into the team for half. We've got 13 games left. They should be playing 8 or 9 of those games and really, show me what you can do. And, I haven't seen enough of Vitinha to make an honest comment. I don't think I would be paying 20 million for him at the minute. Yeah, again, he's another player I didn't sign on Football Manager at the end of the season.
We've got another question here, and it's one that we do get that comes up quite a lot. What positions do you believe we need to invest in the summer, Finn? Not players.
Central midfield. Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Yes, if you label.
Mate, I know the players. I'd want. I go Sanchez. No, but yeah, we'll go a central midfielder, a centre back. That Ruben Dias one is it's horrible, isn't it? Just to think that if we'd have coughed it up, but
I don't think.
But no, yeah, I can't. Yeah.
Interested in it. Really don't.
No, yeah, it's just a shame. Every Portuguese player that goes somewhere, even like Andre Silva, now getting like Bundesliga Player of the Month. It's like, should have been ours. But no, yeah, you need a dominating centre back, preferably. I know Bolly could go to the left, couldn't he? Either foot, with not fussy, just a big centre back. That's what we need. Cody, Bolly, and whoever. Not Hoover, that is. That's someone else. A central midfielder. If you don't get Jose, which I don't know, I'm not undecided yet, then you need another striker. You can't go in with just Jimenez and Fabio. And then if you don't get Aït-Nouri, would you need another left wing back as well? I've banged the drum for Dwight McNeil for a long time. I think he'd be perfect as a wing back, but the cost that's going to be to then possibly be in reserve. If you could have those three, Johnny, Semedo, McNeil, Johnny to be able to play either side, that would be really solid choices. But sorry, I've just named loads of names there. But what do you think, Tom?
It's all right. I think with the McNeil one, he's probably going to want a bigger move, isn't he? Because I know Burnley to Wolves is a step up, but I think he'd probably want a bigger step up than that. And I think he's not had a great season this season, but I think he could go and play at a better level, and he's still only young. But how about yourself, Tom? What positions do you think we need to strengthen? Are you still in the camp of replace Cody?
Yeah. I think that
some things just don't change.
Exactly. Well, he's not very good.
don't get splinters in your arse. Don't sit on the fence. Tell us, this is why you're on here, Tom. Come on, lay the law down.
So I have got no problem with Cody himself, and I think it would be foolish to sell him. But his market value at the minute, I looked at recently, he was 22.5 million. He's got an England cap under his belt. He's at his absolute peak of his market value. So if we're looking at players to sell to get money in, he would be one of the 2 players that I'd be looking at selling, the other one being Traoré. Just if we're talking about trying to raise 60 million to sign 3 players, there's your 60 million right there. And one of those players, regardless of whether we keep Cody or not, we need to have a top quality centre back. We haven't improved the defence since 2017. Vallejo came in, was rubbish. Kilman has come in and has been pretty solid, but is not somebody who's going to take us to the next level. He's going to keep us where we are. So we needed centre back desperately. Whether that's to play in a centre of a back 3 or somebody who's capable of doing both, we need to have somebody who's good enough to do both, really. Then centre midfielder as well, a creative centre midfielder. I think probably. Again, my knowledge is purely based on Football Manager, but Danny Olmo, that kind of a player, somebody who's going to. I know he's another one that got away, but we need somebody who is going to link the attacks up a little bit better and provide a little bit more. I think we've got enough in sort of reserve with different members of the squad if we keep Saïss and then Dendoncker in terms of muscle in midfield as well, and Otasowie if he sort of proves himself over the summer and next season. I think we've got enough there, but we need a creative midfielder. And then it might upset you, Finn, but I think we need to be thinking about Jimenez's return, because I don't think we cannot rely on him to be as good as he was before he had his injury. It would be really, really naive to just think, oh, Jimenez will come back and he'll be the same player. We don't know the trauma that he's been through and the psychology of what he went through as well. How he will come back is unknown. The fact that he will come back is really, really positive, and I'm happy with that. But we cannot rely on him as our number 9 going forward. We do need another top quality goal scorer, which costs you 50, 60 million again. So we're looking at, I think it's going to be quite a rebuild in the summer, but there'll be a lot of, we might see some favoured faces leaving to bring in some top quality core sort of spine of the team. But
it's all right, Finn. We'll find you some views from elsewhere. Don't get too upset about what he's saying, mate.
Well, that's what I said. Do you see that Mexican striker come through? Something called Santiago Munoz.
Yeah, Munoz.
Where was it at? Yeah, like goal. That mate, if we signed him, that'd be perfect.
But give him the title now, Matt.
Say again.
Give him the title.
We've got one more question here, and it's about Adama Traore. And should Wolves be selling Adama Traore this summer, and at what price? I'll ask Finn first, so Tom can have a think about what he's about to say. But Finn, would you sell Adama, and if so, what price would he go for in the summer?
Has he got 2 years left, and he's currently not signing?
Yeah.
So if he's going to say, well, I'm not signing, then you've got to look at it, haven't you? But for me, there's no way I would. Like, he's one of those players where the stats just you can't replace a guy like that. As Nuno says, he's unique and da-da-da. He's got faults. He's obviously got faults. He wouldn't be at Wolves in the first place if he didn't. But as a selfish fan, he's a reason that I watch Wolves almost. He's one of the main reasons why you can be excited for a game. I'd never sell him. But if he is going to be like, right, I'm not signing, like you can't let him go for free in 2 years, can you? So you would have to at some point. What's going on there? I don't know. It must be that argument between Wolves saying, well, look at your stats. Like it's got to be somewhere between that, hasn't it? He's got to be asking for loads. Yeah. I mean, you look at it in a more of a Jimenez sense, that his brand from when he joined Wolves, whatever money he's on, what he brings Wolves now, like his following's like gone up 8-10-fold. It's ridiculous. I'm sure they've asked for a lot more than realistically he's worth on the pitch. But I just really hope it gets resolved. But if not, then unfortunately, we may have to look at it, sadly.
His agent is, as always, wherever he's been like very outspoken in the press and all, has always kind of tried to get the most money for him by leaking stuff to the press. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it was agent talking about the Leeds United transfer and stuff, just to try and force the club into submission, which is disappointing, really. But he probably looks around him and thinks, well, if Jimenez is on, say, 120 grand a week, well, I'm as important as him. I want that money, but it doesn't necessarily work like that. But Tom, would you sell Traore in the summer, and if so, how much?
Yes, I would. Now, I think it's probably. I'm not being nasty or not being or anything like that. But I do think that Fosun will sell him. I think they're looking at players and their peak value and what they bring to the team, and like Finnes has just said now about the contract sort of stuff, it's not something that we've seen with any other player. I don't think we've never seen players push for new contracts under Fosun, and I don't think they like that. I don't think they like having their hand forced, and I think that they will say, well, fine, you can go. If he was somebody like Jimenez that we can't live without, and that's been proven, then it might be different. But I think that there is nobody like him, but we could replace him with somebody who can produce assists and produce goals. And, there will be another Neto somewhere that we can get playing on the other side. And in terms of a fee, I know his market value, which is nothing to really look at, is 36 million.
Market value, and you say the same about Cody, is that from Transfer Market?
It is, yes. So I bet that's really unreliable. I have a real
bugbear with Transfer Market. Just sorry to stop you, but it's like, it's community driven. Like it's basically just football fans who put the things in the air and say, well, he's worth 30 million. Like there's no like formula.
But I think 36 million is probably realistic at the minute. If Jota went for 45, add 10 million for his 2 years of his contract that's left, perhaps something like that. So,
do you think someone would pay for it? I think someone like City or Liverpool would snap your hand off for him because he's going to start, but he's a game changer, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think that's where we've used him incorrectly, probably because of his agent or himself forcing this on the club, saying that he has to start games, he has to play, but he's best coming off the bench with 20 minutes to go and causing mayhem to tired defences, and that's what City or Liverpool or Juventus or Leeds, wherever he goes, will do with him, and I think he'll be good.
When Podence comes back and he's fit, does Podence start over Traore for you?
I'd give him a go, yeah.
And
yeah, I think. I mean, Podence scored goals and he's contributed assists this season. So he's on paper he's contributed more than Traore.
It's a very good point. We've got one final question that isn't football related, but I felt like it really needed to be asked. And I'll ask you, Finn. It really did make me think. Do you reckon you've ever seen the same pigeon twice?
So now we're getting into the proper stuff.
This is after hours. This is what they want. The end of the podcast.
Yeah, if you've got to an hour and 5 minutes in, then let us know in the comments. Just a yes or no. It's an in-joke. But surely, if you're on the same daily commute, you're seeing the same one. Surely. But
you can't. I mean, again, it is just fingers in the air kind of stuff. Like, there's no guarantee. What about you, Tom? I don't think I've ever seen the same pigeon twice.
Yes, definitely have. They roost in the same kind of places. I know that there's definitely a couple that they do the same. Animals do the same thing every day. They go, they bounce along the same bit of the fence, and they go. So that's, I'm fairly sure I've seen at least one pigeon once. I mean, it depends how long the time is between seeing the pigeon as well. So, like, if you look out the window, look at the telly, and then you look back.
No, obviously.
Does that count as...
No, within like the same day. Like, say
the same day, 100%. Yeah,
tomorrow, then you saw it Thursday. It'd have to be that. It couldn't just be like you look, close your eyes, and open your eyes again. It's still there. Like.
I might be wrong as well, but I don't think they're migrating birds. So it's not like they disappear in the summer and then come back. Disappear in the winter. Obviously, sorry to any Avery fans.
Just in case Bill Oddie's watching. We've also had another one, and I wasn't sure how to ask this, but again, it's one that people will want to know. Is a hot dog a sandwich, Finn?
No, oh my. No, but it's in a bun. A bun. I'm going to go no on that one.
Is a burger a sandwich then? If that's how you.
I don't know. It seems too exciting to be a sandwich, doesn't it?
True. What about you, Tom? Is a hot dog?
I'm going to read you the Oxford Dictionary definition of sandwich, and you can make the decision for yourself. So it's an item of food consisting of 2 pieces of bread with meat, cheese, or other filling between them, eaten as a light meal. Not my words, the words of Oxford English Dictionary. So I'd say no, because it's not 2 separate pieces of bread. It's one, as Finn said, bun or
there you have it.
Or cob.
That was the $1 million question that they've all waited to the end for. Hopefully, we'll have some similar questions in the next few podcasts where people can just fast forward to an hour to really get the good stuff. But gents, it's been an absolute pleasure. Hopefully, we can do it sometime again. Tom, where can people find you should they wish to follow you and give you loads of abuse about your Dharma slander?
You can subscribe or unsubscribe from The Old Gold and Black on YouTube. You can look for me on Twitter as well, but I mean, the content's very questionable there, but that's Rouse Every Weekend.
Rouse Every Weekend. Finn, where can people find you should they wish?
Yeah, I've been bullied off the platform, but I'll be back soon on YouTube, FINERRZ, Finners, and that's same on Twitter, Instagram. Hopefully we'll be back soon.
How come you've not been uploading? Was it because of the Albion game? I mean,
I would have. Oh no, yeah, I can do it quick. A lot of people that were doing the Vloggerbox thing sort of got refused anymore. They said, like, one of my mates went out to walk his dog and people were quoting the bits that he was shouting at Albion at him. He said, I'm not doing it anymore. My sister got she's normally used to very positive messages, and she wasn't getting some, so she was like, I'm not doing it anymore. And then so we've just given it a few weeks. I don't know when we'll come back, but it's it's annoying that they sort of bullied us off. I've seen myself on TikTok. That was lovely, getting laughed at. So I'm multi-platform now. But no, yeah, it was a real reality check, that one. I think what some people didn't sort of understand is that I edit it afterwards and I went for sort of irony. Like, I could have easily left out the bits where we're all going like, have that, you know what I mean? Like, we're going to win 5-1 or whatever.
Like the camera.
But it just sort of, it got taken sort of the wrong way. I took it as like a joke. All right, let's all laugh at ourselves, and it sort of, people weren't sort of seeing that. So hopefully, we'll be back soon. There was a lot of losses in a row and not scoring. I just thought, God, I'm just going to get bullied off again. So we've left it. But now we're winning. I might crawl back. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, well, that's why I came back to Twitter, because we were winning again. Because
Yeah,
I
we're all
couldn't
winning.
face it.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, I am a happy clapper. But yeah, hopefully, mate, you're back on there and producing the goods soon. You can find me, if you wish to follow me, at mcooperwrites, writes as in written, Talking Wolves across all socials. And if you've enjoyed the podcast, if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, and leave your comments down below. If you're listening on Audible or Spotify or Apple Music, don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. And I hope you've enjoyed it. I certainly have. Have you enjoyed it, fellas?
Oh yes, loved it.
Loved it. And don't forget our pigeons. What was it? What's the question? Our
Pigeons.
have you seen the same pigeon twice?
Yeah, don't forget
Or leave us a review with that exact quote.
Yeah, that would be great. Until next time, all the best, and I'll catch you very soon.